Go ahead and get this started. We're going to just go ahead and start talking about some motivation, some meditation, some inspiration. If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. We're going to start getting ourselves in a place where we utilize our focus, our mentality, utilize the energy that we have inside of ourselves, put ourselves in a place where we're asking ourselves that question: is what I'm doing today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? Because if it's not one of the three, I don't want it. And so one of those ways that we can actually do that is by getting books and getting things that are in a way in which we're able to utilize. And when we utilize our mentality, when we utilize our ability to put ourselves in a place where we can vibrate, where we have inside outwards, where we can become who we are, where we find time for ourselves, where we reschedule our time, we put ourselves in a place where we start to vibrate with that kind of mentality. It's going to take patience with ourselves. It's going to take giving ourselves sometimes time to absorb and to put ourselves in a place where we start to focus, where we start to realize, where we start to utilize what we have inside. And it doesn't just happen in one day. It doesn't just flip like that. Sometimes it takes hours, it can take weeks, it can take months to get to that place where you open up, where the person that you are inside is in that place. And it doesn't happen, right away. And it's not when you say it to somebody or when you're focusing into that angle. It's when you realize when they're not with you. Okay, the type of people that you want to have in your life, that you want to have a part of your structure, you see the reflection through others. You see how you vibrate. You see how your mentality starts to happen. And so when we recognize that, when we truly allow ourselves time by ourselves, where we see the peace inside of ourselves, we start to recognize that the people that are meant to be in our lives come to us because we're being positive, because we're allowing ourselves to go through our challenges, and by being yourself uplifts them. By being yourself gives them the ability to see you for who you are. Okay? And because self-honesty is the hardest trait on the face of the planet to work with, it's not always easy. Okay? Sometimes what we say doesn't always come out the exact way we mean it. And so when we're sitting inside of our mentality, okay, when we're sitting inside of that place where we're trying to grow inside of who we are, then it requires focusing on yourself. It requires focusing on what really matters to you and how you utilize your ability inside of you. And society hasn't taught us to be that way. It's taught us to be in a way in which we give all control to the things that are not us. We give it to the ability outside of who we are to look at the things that others do instead of look inside of who we are. You see, when you start looking inside of who you are, when you start to truly look at what you truly enjoy, then you start to see the beauty in other people. When you start to see that what you're using, your mentality, can gain understanding. And I want to express that to you guys in such a way that you can start to utilize your focus in a positive way. Okay? That when you start to focus into the ability for you to be yourself, self-growth starts to happen. And, when we're expanding, when we're things start coming and start happening and start flowing in your direction, the universe starts to throw those kind of signs. And sometimes places like positions are meant to be outgrown. At this time, this position was held for a time. Okay, it was in a time in which you might have needed that position. But as things grow, as the ability inside starts to become, as the focus starts to happen, as the ability inside starts to happen, as you allow yourself to be you and other people to be themselves, the beauty inside starts to grow, okay? And when you give yourself time to do things like exercise, like eat a healthy diet, like putting the things that align you in a process that you're seeking out, okay? It's not for somebody else, okay? The people who truly want to be around you are going to want you to be yourself, okay? You know, they might have to see that not every view that they view from is the perfect one. You know, nobody on the face of the planet that I know of today, okay, was perfect. A lot of people like to say Jesus Christ was perfect. But the thing is even he got upset. So is that considered a universal force, or is that an ability inside of ourselves to see that possibly when we recognize that and we start to work through those things, we start to find ourselves, okay? And when we open ourselves up to that kind of understanding, it just doesn't happen overnight. And the reason why it doesn't happen overnight was because you might be at that position saying, hey, but they're giving me this, they're doing this. What about inside of you? And when we give ourselves that kind of place to truly grow inside, then that's when things start to align themselves. Okay? It's when you're focusing on the ability to get ahead that universe that we live in starts to utilize. Okay? It's when we start to see and reflect, and with that kind of mentality, it starts to become possible. And it starts to happen inside of who we are, that we start to focus to that point where we start to get it. Okay, we start to get the ability to embrace ourselves. And we start to get the ability to be who we are on the inside. And it's not for somebody else that you can do this for. It's for yourself. It's like when everything is working against you, it's when you start believing in yourself. It's when everything is working against you that you start to see the things that you have inside. And when you start to use the gifts and the tools that you have, and I'm usually talking about writing. Today I'm actually talking about reading. Okay? I had a lot of challenges with the place that I live now, and you know, I needed to be spending time reading. You know, there's a very important part about picking up an actual book and reading, and putting yourself in a place where you recognize that your time is important. Okay? And you know, when we do that for ourselves, 35. And so when we do that for ourselves, when we put ourselves in that kind of a place where the challenges that we're facing off against, they don't have the ability to overcome us anymore. Okay? When we're truly working through those type of things inside of ourselves, when we're focusing with that kind of level, with that kind of embrace, it's when the universe truly starts to work, okay? And this isn't new, my friends. You know, you can pull up a quote from Albert Einstein that says, become friends with the universe. Okay? If Albert Einstein was figuring out how to become friends with the universe, shouldn't we take a little bit of time each day and figure out how to use that kind of focus to become that kind of friend with the universe? And so that's why I started asking that kind of a question. I started to say, if I could become friends with the universe, if I could literally see the things that are happening before they happen, then I can, in the things that are going through, I can possibly figure it out that, I might be able to make it through those challenges. And through that kind of mentality, I started to come to a conclusion that we choose to be positive. Okay, we choose to put ourselves in a place where we focus. We choose to put ourselves in a place that's negative. What's the difference between the people who put themselves in a place that's positive and negative? Is the choice to be positive. The choice to do positive things, to be positive towards other people, to be understanding. And so it doesn't just happen overnight. It doesn't happen like that. It takes time to sit back and to analyze and to digest and to put yourself in a place where you start to recognize what really matters. Okay, what is it that really matters to you? Okay, what is it that really matters inside of you? And when I sat back and I started to sit down and I started to focus to that point, I started to see that, it wasn't about this or that. It was about the joy. Okay, it was about the ability that joy actually is important for the being to grow. That when we're on our path and we're on our journey, that what are the things that truly bring you joy? What are the things that bring you wonderful, positive feelings inside of yourself? And not just yourself, what about other people too? What opens them up to be themselves with you? And so we can utilize this in our companionships, but we can also utilize it in our families, in our professions. See, when we start to look from other people's angles, when we start to look from the challenges that they're going through, when we want to uplift them, when we want to see them smile, when we want to see them feel joy inside of themselves, see, then you start feeling joy. Then the law of riches starts to kick in. That the universe yields back to the one who's willing to give. To give in mind and body, spirit, and energy within oneself, focus. And so, are we doing that daily? Are we putting ourselves in that kind of a place where we're doing that? And so, you might be having challenges today. You might be going through something today that you don't know if you can make it through. If you focus to the point where you turn things positive, if you focus to the point where you start to utilize who you are, the ability inside of yourself starts to open up. And it's inside of ourselves that we recognize the things that are actually a positive force in our own worlds. See, when we're able to reinforce other people to be positive inside of themselves, even with their own challenges, to embrace their own challenges, then we start to become friends with the universe. And that doesn't just happen in one day. Because when you start to understand, you want them to be themselves. You want them to be free to feel joy inside of themselves, to want to recognize that, you are going to work with this person. What about their view? What about their opinion? What about their ability to be themselves? See, each person to focus to that level takes a foundation. It takes a level of focus to the place where you allow the things that aren't meant for you to move out of the way, so those positive things can actually fill its space. And so one of those ways that I have found a skill to work through that I would suggest you guys to use as well is journaling. Is picking up a pen or a paper or such and putting a little bit of time for you. Just a little bit of time to exercise every day. Just a little bit of time to sing. Just a little bit of time to write. Just a little bit of time to laugh. Okay? For the longest time, I was in a place where I didn't feel like I could be myself. And when I found a challenge, when a wonderful person that brings joy into my world was facing off against their own challenges and they couldn't be themselves, that I had to recognize that the view that I was viewing from wasn't their view. And when we focus to that level where we want to uplift other people, where we want other people to be themselves, it doesn't just happen. It takes time. It takes studying yourself and studying your own challenges to see that other people's challenges are able to be embraced by them. And so when we start to understand that, when we start to be kind to that, when we start to be gentle, when we start to reflect outwards as love, my friends, from the knowledge within yourselves, then they start to feel comfortable inside of themselves. They start to feel comfortable inside of their being, inside of their focus, inside of their knowledge, inside of their own understanding. And through allowing that to happen, that process allows focus to become a positive force. It allows the person inside to see you as a positive force and them to become a positive force in your life. And that's the type of journey that we've got to seek out, my friends. We've got to start seeking out positions that don't just improve the employer, but also improve you by creating a way for you both to work together. Okay? And working on teams that bring you closer to a common goal than just a singular goal. Too many people enter things selfishly. Too many people don't see from the other point of view. They don't see from what I can do to make your life better. Okay? And when we start to do that, we want to embrace them. We want to understand that their challenges are theirs and that they can embrace their challenges, that they can truly make it through them, that what they're going through is worth it. See, when we fight ourselves, okay, we're fighting the universe. We're not becoming friends with the universe. When we start utilizing the universe, then we start to understand that focus has a purpose. Okay, that the foundation and focus isn't for somebody else's place or somebody else's judgment. In fact, when we're doing that type of thing to other people, we're actually pushing them away. The way in which we bring people closer to ourselves is with positive reinforcement, positive ability for them to believe in themselves, positive ability to believe that they can do it, that yes, they're going to face off against challenges, and yes, they can overcome them for themselves, that you want to know them for them, that you want them to be open to be who they are on the inside, and that when they're facing off against things, that they can overcome them. And see, that took me a long time to learn that lesson. It almost took me losing somebody close to my heart. It took me almost losing somebody with a value that is as of a diamond. And so when we focus to that place where we don't want to push away the things that we truly want to have in our life that bring us positivity, it's inside of ourselves that we have to seek, and that's when we have to recognize that we might not just be perfect inside. We might be going through things inside of ourselves. We might just have challenges that we need to work on ourselves too. And see, that's called auditing yourself. Okay? And when we sit back and we start to realize, wow, this person really brought some positivity into my world. They were really there. They're really on that part of my track path. It's in a way in which the mentality starts to open up. And that is where understanding comes from, my friends. It's seeing from more than your own set of eyes. It's seeing from more than one view and still being yourself. See, when we're honest with ourselves, we don't need to hide things. When we're honest who we are inside, the beauty inside radiates outwards. And I've recognized that. I've opened my eyes to the ability to see that the people that are going to want to be around me aren't going to want to be around me for what their perfections or imperfections. It's just going to be because they surely, truly enjoy the person that I am inside. So how can we use those kind of skills, my friends? How can we use that person inside of who we are? And how can we uplift other people and start to find joy inside of ourselves that it is in a path of our journey? And how can we put ourselves in a place where our ability to focus into positivity also has understanding towards other people? And that's where the ego really gets kicked. See, a lot of times we want to take on the world. We want to do all of these things. We want to become all of these things. We want to be the best at this, that. And what about the simplicity? What about being who you are? What about, sometimes that might be growth in itself. It might be when you're not succeeding that you truly are. That, when things aren't working, they're actually working in your favor. They're working in your ability inside of yourself to grow. And when we're focusing to that point where what we're writing down becomes possible. Okay? Because we know that on the other side of giving up comes success. See, if we're succeeding to the point where we're failing to succeed, then we're moving somewhere. We're moving in a direction where we can achieve our dreams, where we can achieve our goals, where our possibilities inside of ourselves start to open up. And when we realize that, it comes down to the simplicity. What brings you joy in your day, my friends? What is that? Is that how we seek out that kind of light? You see what I'm saying is what you're doing today is bringing you closer to who you are. It's bringing you closer to your mentality. It's bringing you closer to the ability for you to be yourself. And when you're grinding on your purpose, on your path, your journey will start to merge up with people that are meant to be on your journey. It will bring those people who want you to be uplifted, that want you to recognize who you are on the inside, want you to see the blessings, the beauty that you have. And you see, when we focus on that kind of depth, then positivity has form. Then it takes shape. When you see that you can help somebody out in a way that nobody ever really would. Okay, ask yourself, think about that for a second. How can you help people out by being yourself? How can you help people out by seeing the one that you are inside, that you're worth it? And, how can you find, like this book says, happy at home? Okay? How can you find that in your home? How about the one inside of you? How about the one inside of your ability? How about the one inside of your mentality? How about giving yourself that place of growth? Giving yourself that ability to see that as a place inside, and to start to put yourself into that kind of vibration where you might see where other people might be coming from and not just yourselves. And when I started to realize that, my friends, it started to free me towards a positive path of understanding. Okay? And 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 that's how we start overcoming our ego. We start putting ourselves inside of who we are. We see that person that you are has been waiting for you a long time. It's been waiting for you to see yourself and to believe in you. And when we're focusing, a lot of times we forget about the people around us when we're focused to the point where we go inwards. When we see that focus is a manifestation outwards of the internal reflection outwards, we start having understanding inside of ourselves. This is called growth, my friends. And so, are you growing? Are you putting yourself in a place where your mentality has the ability to start to open up to that level of yourself? What about that level of care? What about that level of mentality to where you're utilizing what you have inside? And when we focus with that kind of a place, it becomes worth writing down. It becomes worth seeing our challenges and becoming a friend with the universe. And when we start to do this, okay, when we start to get to that part of who we are inside, the mentality starts to open up that yes, you can achieve your dreams. When you're about to fail to the point, on the other side of failure, you find success. See, so if you are not failing, then you are not giving yourself the ability to get back up. And when you see that diamonds are forming around you, sometimes they form inside you. And so, are we recognizing that place of growth? Are we recognizing that level of understanding? Are we becoming that focused that we are becoming that kind of blessings? That we are gaining that part inside of who we are? And you see, that is how you can tell that people are meant to be on your journey, is when you grow. Not when other people grow. When you see it inside of yourself truly. When you see it inside of your focus. When you can see things happening. When you can see the reflection in others. When you feel it inside of yourself, that you're so focused that you're bringing yourself in a way that growth happens. And it's a beautiful thing to see that happen. It's a beautiful place to be inside of ourselves, to where we can gain that focus to that point where we can truly be the student in our lives. Where other people can see our focus at such a level that we radiate a level of motivation. Okay? When we put ourselves in that kind of a place where we're utilizing our mentality on a daily basis, that we have a reason to wake up every day. We have a reason to push forward even when it's difficult. We have a reason to have a mentality, to have an ability to believe in ourselves and to believe in other people to be themselves. And when we do that, when we give ourselves that ability to go through those kinds of challenges, they're not always going to be easy, my friends. You know, and it's a blessing that they're not easy. Because if they were, then you wouldn't enjoy it. You wouldn't enjoy the challenges. You wouldn't enjoy the things that you go through and the things that you focus on and the things that you want to overcome. You wouldn't enjoy that part of yourself. So, let's go ahead and start talking about this inwards journey. let's go ahead and talk about the second thing that I ask myself every single day. Okay? The networks that I have, YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, podcasts. What are we doing this meditation thing about? What is it to you that meditation is? Is it a lifestyle? Is it a mentality? Is it a place? Is it with your eyes closed? Is it singing? Is it writing? Is it drawing? What is it? Is it lifting weights? Is it exercising? Is it doing yoga? What is it that reflects outwards self-understanding as a student in your life? To have patience with yourself, to overcome your pains, to overcome your fears, to overcome your emotions. And we use it, some people golf, others play frisbee. The way in which I put myself in that place is I shut off to the world around me and I go inwards. And so I want to share a little bit about how meditation has helped me. Okay, I want you to see that when you love other people more than you love yourself, okay, you're really not caring about your own self-being. When you start caring about the person inside of you, when you start decompressing those fears, when you start decompressing those emotions, when you start decompressing those pains, when you start to gain that place of becoming that kind of a student, that is a place of meditation. So ask yourself, where do you do that? How do you do that? Is it reflecting outwards as meditation? You see what I'm saying? See, a lot of people ask me, how do you meditate? And the thing is it's when you are willing to be yourself, and be in your zone, and be in your person, that your energy starts to flow. It's when you start to understand that the student inside is worth of the teacher. When you become that kind of a student, where you start to have that kind of a patience, where you start to stand your ground, where you start to utilize your human being, where you start to utilize your thought process, where you truly start to open up, where your heart starts to understand but also have relation. So are we voicing ourselves? Are we using the energy from within the blue energy field within our beings? Are we reaching that place where our depth perception can see to that place where the nervous system can be the student? See, where you are the classroom. But it takes a student to get there. It takes patience. It takes time. It takes understanding. It takes self-growth. And it takes the being inside of who we are. And so that is how you can improve in your care. You can improve in your being. You can improve in your student inside of yourself, that centering the understanding that the person within is worth it, that your life is worth it, that the years, the weeks, the months are worth it. And at a certain time, I didn't feel like it was worth it. I didn't feel like I could achieve it. I didn't feel like I was worthy of it. I didn't feel like I could be this person that I am. And you see, that caring heart inside didn't understand. You see, when we understand ourselves, when we find peace inside of ourselves, when we find joy inside of who we are, when people come in our journey and our path that bring us joy to just be who you are, then that person inside of you starts to say, I realize this. I really do care about you that way. So, and that doesn't just happen in one day, okay? Self-love is a reflection of self-care, which is a reflection of self-knowledge. Self-knowledge is what you're seeking out daily. The stories behind the emotions, the reasons why you feel the way you do, the things that you go through, and the things that you're working on. And when that student inside starts to open up, when that student inside of who you are starts to open up, when you start to find that person who you are on the inside is worthy of you. Then that classroom starts to become worth it. Then the ability for us to face off against those challenges become possible. Then the light inside of you starts to radiate. Then the being inside of your purpose starts to happen. When you start to find your purpose, when you start to find your light inside, when you start to believe in you, then the universe starts working in your favor. It starts to say, hey, that person's beautiful inside. And it's inside of you that matters the most. It's when that light, it's like being in a tunnel, a completely dark tunnel. When you first join that tunnel, when you get in that tunnel, you might be a little bit afraid. You might feel the pain of having to walk to the end of the tunnel, to the light at the end of the tunnel. You might be a little bit fear, you might be a little bit scared. But if you keep working at it, you keep putting yourself at a place saying, no, I know I can make it to the end of the tunnel. No, I know that I have what it takes. I know that I am who I am on the inside, that when I focus to that level, when I focus to that part of who you are on the inside, when you focus to that part, the blessings start coming out. The person inside starts to open up, and the understanding inside starts to happen. And inside of that knowledge comes self-growth. Yeah? Inside of that self-knowledge, you find you. You find that your stories, your lessons are worth it, that you're worth it. And we each deserve to do that. We each deserve to feel inside of ourselves that our journey and our paths are worth it. And it's not what we've been through, where we're going, it's how we feel inside of ourselves that matters the most. We are so worth it. Your blessings inside of you, your being, your light, your purpose, your journey, your path is worth it. And I'm seeing that on a daily. I'm seeing that not just inside of myself, but in the people that I have around me as I continue to grow as well too. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I will say that much. Because without those kind of challenges, I wouldn't gain an understanding, a higher level of care, a higher level of emotion, because I shut that off to the world. I went inwards to the point where I started to burn the emotions away. I started to let go of that part of who I am. And inside of who we are, we can overcome our challenges. When we go to that point where we believe in ourselves and we believe in our abilities, the universe has the ability for us to gain access to that knowledge inside of ourselves, that we can read the energy, we can read the being, we can read the knowledge in itself, the knowledge within the beings, within the purpose. When we see that level, when we see that part of who we are, then we start to understand ourselves. So, can you see that as a place of reflection, of meditation? Can you see what you're going through is a part of you being yourself, is a part of you being who you are and you being on your path, your journey? Your growth is happening daily. Your growth inside of yourselves, inside of your being, inside of your knowledge is like a student with a teacher inside of the classroom of you. How do you overcome it? Sometimes do we need recess? So let's go ahead and re-enter the room of our mentalities and of our knowledge and of our focuses, and see the joy in the company that we have in our lives, becoming best friends with ourselves. So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about how can you use the joy that you have inside of you? How can you use the focus, the knowledge, the discipline, the mentality inside of yourself to the point where you become disciplined? How can you get to the place inside of yourself where you have what it takes, where you go through challenges and you make it to the other side, where what you're facing off against is worth it. And I'm looking at that discipline, okay, and studying it daily. I'm looking at that discipline and asking that question daily. Is what I'm doing today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Am I connecting my focus and my knowledge to the point where I'm becoming an inspiration? And every day I'm asking that question. Every day I'm asking that question. And I would inspire you to ask yourself the same kind of question. Is my days becoming lighter? Are they becoming just a little bit better? Am I making not just my own life, but other people's life lighter? And are they believing in themselves? Are they gaining access to their own knowledge? And are we sitting at that point inside of ourselves where we're starting to understand our paths? We're starting to understand our purpose, our exact journey in itself. And see, when do we embrace that part? When do we embrace our focus? When do we embrace our knowledge? When do we have focus beyond focus? So not just a focus on the outside, but what about the inside? What about knowledge beyond knowledge? Not about what's going on around you, but what's going on inside you. And when are we becoming disciplined beyond discipline? Not just what's going on the outside, but what's going on the inside. See, when you're going on the inside of you, when you are becoming that person, when you're gaining that place inside of yourself, when you're gaining that understanding inside of your being, when that part of who you are is worth it, when that part of your path is worth it, when your journey has a place, you feel worth it. And when you feel worth it, other people become uplifted. Their days become lighter. Their journeys become easier. Their burdens become lighter. And that is how we become disciplined on a repetitive basis of being yourselves. Simple. Be who you are. And the light inside of you will radiate outwards. The person inside of you will be brought to the light. And it will be worth it. And each of us has what it takes inside to get there. But we got to believe in ourselves. We got to believe in what we go through is worth it. That the challenges, that the time that we have sometimes by ourselves helps us to understand the people that we have around us. Helps us to understand the joy that they bring to you. Can we inspire each other on a daily basis? Can we put ourselves in a place where we have what it takes, where we believe that we can achieve our dreams, our goals, our abilities inside of who we are? Can we focus to that point? Can we focus to that mentality? Can we give ourselves that ability to uplift other people and to find a way for that wind to allow us to become an inspiration? What a blessing you are. What a blessing your challenges are. What a blessing your ability inside of who you are to overcome the things that you didn't think you could. See, each of us face that kind of a challenge to get there inside of ourselves. But when we do that, when we become that disciplined, we start to become diamonds. And diamonds aren't formed without pressure. Diamonds aren't formed without challenges. Diamonds are formed when we're willing to take the heat, we're willing to take the challenges, when we're willing to be who we are on the inside and to light up in this world. I just want you all to see your blessings that you are. As I close, I want to say blessings, blessings, blessings. As always, namaste.